So forgive me if I make some spelling mistakes because this is just like was put together just this August. I was working on this course. Everything we're talking about was put together very, very recently. This is new book for the course, so forgive me if sometimes I have some omissions like that. All right. But like I said, we are going to look at the mix of programming languages, which is C, C++, and Java, but nothing to be scared about because most of the code is very, very short, okay? And the book does have some exercises. I encourage you to look at them, but we're not going to specifically focus on any of the exercise challenges in the book. We're going to use the book because it's really well introducing concepts from the beginning, not like, in chapter 12, but in chapter 1, which is very valuable to our class here. Okay, but the book is using C, and that's going to be your challenge when you read the book. I mean, our challenge together, obviously, but when you read, you most likely read alone, and you're going to have to kind of like pace yourself through examples in the book. So I encourage you to research as much as you can from other resources, including the internet. Yes, question. Is there a difference between C and C++? Yes, there is a difference. The principal difference is that C++ includes C as a subset, right? C is a subset of C++. C++ was not built from scratch, but basically Björn Strustrup, the creator of C++, said, so I have those, object-oriented ideas and principles and things I'd like to try as a new programming language, and but how can I do this without sacrificing any performance? And the answer was C, because C doesn't want to sacrifice any performance. In fact, C programming language was created to replace the assembly language. Okay, it was simply created to say, how can we quickly port operating systems from one place to another, from one hardware to another hardware, and that's the idea behind C, is that it was replacing the assembly language, and Unix was ported based on C from one hardware to another hardware. And so my answer to you is that the difference is very significant because C++ is huge programming language. Like it's maybe a few times larger than Java in terms of the features of the programming language that are available. However, in our examples, there will be you will see the differences right away. In fact, I think on the next slide, we're going to talk about some differences, right? So if you're asking specifically about the book, then I don't think you should have any problems following the material in the book. I don't expect you to have any problems. Because everything, to clarify, everything that is available in the book, as an example, will run just fine in your C++ compiler. Okay, so you will never experience any problems with that. By the way, something else to mention, the compiler, right? So we're obviously, as you know, for Java, I use NetBeans as a platform because it's from Oracle, so it's pretty current and very easy to install and start using. For C and C++, I think at some later point, like week 4, 5, maybe 6, we're going to download and start using CodeBlocks because it's very, it's an open source platform. It's available on Mac, on Linux, on Windows, obviously. So this is a very easy choice. The install takes just very short time, and we can then play tricks with like projects with multiple source files and just whatever we're going to need to do in terms of project management. We're going to use CodeBlocks, and that's using also open source GCC compiler for the examples that we're going to be using. Okay, next I'd like you to look at, and I might reduce the size here a little bit. I'd like you to look at three examples. Those are examples from those three programming languages, and they're all accomplish something that we refer to as a Hello World program. Hello World basically is a program that you should try writing as soon as, say, you downloaded your compiler, just to make sure that you can compile and it does something and your environment looks okay. All right, so that basically, how do you tell me that your programming environment is okay? You just kind of copy and paste. I copy and paste a lot, by the way, in my life, because that just saves time. And sometimes I run into trouble with that, but it is what it is. It just happens. But those are intentionally kind of copy and paste into your compiler. So say if you have a C compiler, you can copy and paste the Hello World in C. If you have C++, this is the next piece. And if you want to test drive your Java environment, then there's your piece right there. Right? So you can see that they're very, very similar, right? They're extremely similar. In fact, Hello World, the message itself is encoded in all of them in exactly the same format, okay? In exactly the same format. Like, for instance, this is a Java version of it. It's using exactly the same format, and that format, of course, includes the double quotes. So that the message itself is enclosed in double quotes. Okay, and we can see some characters between the double quotes. And in all three programming languages, you can see that there's \n, which is basically just a new line, basically asking whoever takes care of the actual output of characters to make sure that the cursor, you know, the blinker in your, I don't know, console window or command window, it moves to the next line, and that's the new line character at the end of this literal string. By the way, in all three languages, we say that whenever you want to take some output exactly, precisely as you type it, we call it a literal string. And as you can see, a literal string uses double quotes in all three languages. So not a surprise. I already mentioned that C++ took C as a platform, and C is a subset of C++, and Java didn't take off completely from scratch. Instead, it inherited a lot of constructs and concepts from C++. It essentially removed some of the elements of the language to make things simplified in a way, but that's why there is similarity. You also see some things highlighted like blue. They're all keywords in the language, and you can see that in Java we have an element that is not present in either C++ or C, which is this public class Hello World. This line right here in Java, it's because Java is trying to be a purely object-oriented programming language, and objects are built from scratch from blueprints called classes. So class is like a drawing of the house that needs to be built by some construction company, okay? So that's what this class is, essentially outlining things. Now, so I'm trying to compare them all, and I do kind of find some similarities, but do you notice any syntax commonality between these programs? Do you, like, just visually, right? They're kind of similar. So this is not like completely different. They're different, but not completely different. Now, today I do not want to spend too much time too much time talking about any kind of syntactical details like what this symbol does or that symbol does. It's not. Let's not worry about that. Don't worry about much of the punctuation. But I'd like you to notice something definitely interesting is that they all take kind of heavy use of curly braces, right? All of these, okay? All of these take use of curly braces. Now, for the first few weeks, we're going to, I'm just hoping it's going to work. Sometimes it has some little glitches, but there's a link to cpp.sh, CPP shell, C++ shell, which is a Linux-based, you can see the about box. Our internet connection is a little slow here today. So again, this could be a good time for me to stop and make another recording segment.